Update on the pyramid pears, just to recap this particular section of the orchard. 3 years ago there were Bramley apples, a double row of Bramleys and a double row of Sunset. They were problematic apples for us. The Bramleys were growing much too, it's enormous, they just kept growing, all leaf and no fruit. And we were all right for Bramleys, but people kept asking us for pears. We proved with our espaliers, which we grew for ourselves, we proved that pears will grow in this soil and climate quite nicely, and people kept asking us for more for pears, and so we planted some 33 pears here altogether, and intending to grow them as pyramids, 3 varieties. And I was intending to tie all of these up, but we, as is so often the case, we ran out of time before we got all the work done. Now I can't remember which variety is which, although it'll be pretty obvious when they crop, when they fruit. I've probably got a map somewhere, but they were labels, the labels faded and fell. It's growing in a nice sort of very columnar way, this particular one. I've got a feeling this is Burr Hardy. Not sure. The varieties anyway were Burr Hardy, Doyenja Commis, Conference, I'm pretty sure this is Conference, and a variety called Concord, which is a cross between Commis and Conference. Conference being a pear of very average flavour, but it's a very reliable cropper. Commis is a pear of wonderful flavour, but it isn't anywhere near as reliable. And Concord is said to have, by the skill of the plant breeder, to have combined some of the best qualities of both pears. I don't know, I've never tasted it. I planted it on the recommendation of books. Great reader of books I am, and of course the nursery catalogues, which you know are always very accurate and truthful. But anyhow, just to we can see what's going on. Obviously, just to recap, that's the 2010 growth. Coming away from this point, obviously that's 2009 wood, which is developing large numbers of fruit buds, and in fact that pear obviously is growing, as is this one, on the 2009 wood there, and so is this. So the 2009 wood, you just see, get this here, okay, that's 2009 wood. It's got buds producing on it, but at the very tip of it, it produced a pear. Now this is part of the thing about growing as a pyramid, is that you do very little pruning, very little. You just sort of leave it alone to a very large extent. Remove the unwanted wood and mainly leave it alone. And where the wood that you leave alone, obviously the more wood there was left over from the previous year, the more likely it is to produce some fruit buds. I'm sorry, I hope I'm making sense here. In any event, rather than me talk, I'll just show you what I can actually show here. So that's the end of the 2009 wood it grew last year, and there were some fruit buds obviously at the tips of it. And the weight of the pears is pulling these down, so they're going to be adopting an outward facing position, a good angle. So to recap, these trees were planted in March 2008. So they grew away for 2008, they grew away to 2009, and this year they're growing nicely, and they're carrying probably an average of 1 kilogram, well effectively, you know, 7 or 8 good pears will give us a kilogram. So in particular, I'll just draw this video to a close, just to say how these are getting on, and just for those of you who, just remove that one because that's not looking very good, that's cracked. So it's that one. I'll just take off slightly too many at the end there. Don't want, yeah, and there's slightly too many there as well. Don't want to pull it down too much. Yeah, I mean 5 pears on that branch is enough. Just for those of you who think, well, I'd like to plant some fruit trees, but you know, I've never done it before, and you know, it's probably ever so difficult and all kinds of things to go wrong. Go for it, man, go for it. These trees are in their 3rd year and most of them are carrying a little bit of fruit, and they really haven't had an awful lot of work done. Another point, you know, I had Bramleys here in Sunset. I had too many Sunset. The Bramleys were not growing very well for us, so a considerable effort, with the help of some friends. We dug them out. We used the wood for firewood in our wood burning stove, and we replanted with pears. Made that decision 3 years ago, carried it out. 3 years later we've got a modest crop of pears, which is ever so much better than putting up with apples that were not really satisfactory and which were surplus to our needs. And these pears this year will probably have enough to take a few to market, where they will fly off our market stall, and depending on what sort of year it is, we'll be charging either £3 a kilo or £4 a kilo for them, which sounds like a lot of money, but bear in mind we've got to pay, we've got terrible expenses to meet. We've got to sell about £80 worth of fruit from our market stall before we break even with our costs for the day, let alone start paying ourselves anything for the apples we grew and the pears. But yeah, and next year I am confidently hoping that these trees will be carrying 3 times as much fruit as they are carrying now.